The film begins by introducing us to Octavio, a proud and traditional Brazilian bar owner. His life and his heart are completely invested in his family and his establishment, Octavio's Bar Bites and Drinks. He runs the bar with his stepson Filipino and his daughter Mariana, a talented violinist. Octavio holds a deep unspoken hope that Mariana will one day take over the family business, continuing the legacy he has built. However, Mariana has a different path in mind, one inspired by her late mother's passion for music. She is a dedicated musician who has just been accepted into a prestigious music conservatory in Paris, a moment of triumph for her that is for Octavio a source of profound sadness and anxiety. The film sets the stage with their difficult farewell. Octavio's heartbreak manifests as stubbornness and pride. He gives Mariana a harsh ultimatum, telling her not to come back if she doesn't succeed. This painful parting leaves a void in his life and a lingering tension between them. Years later, Mariana returns to Brazil, but not alone. She brings a surprise that shakes Octavio's world to its core. She's engaged to Miguel, an Argentinian man she met in Paris. This news is a double blow to Octavio. Not only is his daughter marrying a foreigner, but she's also not returning to run the bar. To make matters worse, she reveals that the couple plans to live in Europe and they've arranged a family trip to Bariloche, Argentina for the two families to meet and celebrate the engagement. Octavio's initial reaction is one of absolute refusal, fueled by his cultural prejudices and a simmering resentment towards Argentina. He sees the trip as a surrender to a rival nation, a betrayal of his Brazilian pride. However, his wife Jana and the rest of the family convince him to go, highlighting that it's what Mariana truly wants. He reluctantly agrees, but not without making it clear that he will be an uncooperative and difficult guest, setting the stage for a comical and chaotic cultural clash. The moment the two families meet at the Bariloche Hotel, the friction is immediate and palpable. Octavio's counterpart is Hector, Miguel's father. Hector is a wealthy hotel owner and a history professor, a man of refined tastes and formal demeanor who prides himself on Argentina's rich history and sophisticated culture. Octavio, in stark contrast, is a boisterous, straightforward and unapologetically Brazilian man who finds fault in everything Argentinian, from the food to the cold weather. The film's humor is brilliantly executed through their constant rivalry, with each man trying to one-up the other at every turn. Hector showcases the beauty and grandeur of Argentina, while Octavio stubbornly defends Brazil's warm beaches and vibrant traditions. The tension is further complicated by the presence of Carol, a sommelier who works at the Martin family's hotel. She also happens to be Miguel's ex-girlfriend. Octavio's natural distrust of Argentinians is amplified by his protective instincts as a father. He immediately suspects Miguel still has feelings for Carol, seeing her as a direct threat to Mariana's happiness. He vocalizes his suspicions and makes awkward, pointed comments, fueling the conflict and putting Miguel and Mariana's relationship under pressure. Throughout their stay, Octavio's antics become increasingly wild and unpredictable. He tries to prove he can snowboard like a surfer, with predictably disastrous but hilarious results. He also attempts to one-up Hector during a formal wine tasting, where Hector is trying to impress everyone with his knowledge of an expensive Argentinian become. Octavio, in his signature over-the-top style, compares the refined wine to cash, a traditional Brazilian spirit, and gives a ridiculous tasting that mocks Hector's pretentiousness. Every shared activity, from a simple dinner to an outdoor excursion, becomes a battleground for their egos and national pride. However, beneath the surface of the slapstick comedy and cultural rivalry, the film explores deeper, more heartfelt themes. Octavio's difficult behavior is a mask for his profound fear of losing his daughter for good. He realizes that Mariana's move to Europe and her marriage to an Argentinian will create a distance he might not be able to bridge. He feels like he's losing her, not just to a new life but to a new family and a new country. The trip forces him to confront this reality and the fact that the future he had planned for her taking over the bar was his dream, not hers. The climax of the story is both comical and touching. In a final desperate attempt to prove his superiority, Octavio decides to take on a difficult snowboarding slope despite having zero experience. He tumbles and crashes into a tree, resulting in a minor but dramatic injury. This accident, however, becomes the turning point of the film. It forces both families to set aside their differences and work together to help him. In the quiet moments that follow, Octavio finally opens up, revealing his vulnerability and his fears. He admits his stubbornness and apologies for his behavior, confessing that his anger was just a manifestation of his deep sadness over losing his daughter. This moment of honesty and vulnerability allows for a genuine reconciliation. Octavio's confession resonates with Hector, who also has fears about his son's future. They realize that despite their cultural differences, they are both just fathers who want the best for their children. The movie beautifully highlights the idea that family is not just about blood but about love, support, and acceptance. The two families who seem so different finally find common ground. The film concludes on a heartwarming note, with Octavio and Hector sharing a laugh and a drink, finally embracing their new blended family. The last scenes show the two fathers as friends, a testament to the fact that love can overcome cultural divides and personal stubbornness, and that in the end they are all almost family and ready to be one. The clash of cultures and families centered on the stubborn Brazilian bar owner Octavio and his daughter Mariana. The story begins with a deep-rooted love for family and tradition, as Octavio dreams of Mariana inheriting his business. However, Mariana has her own dreams of a career in music, a passion she shares with her late mother. When she is accepted into a prestigious Paris conservatory, it creates a rift between her and her father, who sees her departure as a betrayal of their family's legacy. Their farewell is filled with unspoken tension, and Ottavio's hurt manifests as a promise to her not to return if she doesn't succeed. After years of being apart, Mariana comes home with a surprise that further complicates things for Ottavio. She's engaged to an Argentinian musician named Miguel. To celebrate the engagement and bring the families together, the two plan a trip to Bariloche, Argentina, where Miguel's family owns a hotel. This news immediately stirs Ottavio's cultural prejudices and his protective instincts. He reluctantly agrees to the trip, but not before expressing his open disdain for Argentina, setting the stage for a comical and chaotic culture clash. The moment the families meet, the rivalry between Ottavio and Miguel's father Hector is instant. Hector is a sophisticated and wealthy hotel owner who takes immense pride in his Argentinian heritage. Ottavio, on the other hand, is a loud and straightforward Brazilian man who loves to point out the flaws in everything Argentinian, from the food to the cold weather. Their contrasting personalities and cultural pride fuel a series of humorous one-upmanship attempts, with each father trying to prove the superiority of their country. Adding to the tension is the presence of Miguel's ex-girlfriend Carla Sommelier, who works at the hotel. Ottavio's natural distrust of Argentinians combines with his fatherly protectiveness, making him immediately suspicious of Miguel's intentions. He believes Miguel still has feelings for Carol and is using his daughter, a fear he often expresses through thinly veiled insults and awkward situations. As the trip progresses, Ottavio's antics escalate. He tries to prove his physical prowess by attempting to snowboard with a comical crash that highlights his overconfidence. He also mocks Hector's refined taste in wine, proudly declaring the superiority of Brazilian cachaça. However, beneath the humor and rivalry lies a deep-seated fear in Ottavio. His difficult behavior is a cover for his worry that he will lose his daughter forever to a new family and a new country. He is forced to confront the fact that the future he had envisioned for her running his bar was his dream, not hers. The climax of the film comes when Ottavio, in a final act of desperation, confronts Hector about his suspicion that Miguel and Carol are having an affair. The confrontation backfires spectacularly, revealing a misunderstanding on Ottavio's part due to the language barrier. Ottavio learns that Miguel and Carol were simply preparing a surprise for Mariana, a valuable violin. The surprise is overshadowed by the chaos and Ottavio's accusations, causing a huge fight that results in Mariana and Miguel storming off. In the aftermath, the two fathers, realizing their mistakes, decide to put their differences aside and go after their children. This leads to a heartfelt and tearful reunion at the airport, where Ottavio finally apologizes to Mariana. He admits his jealousy, his selfishness, and his fear of losing her after her mother's death. He confesses that his controlling behavior was a result of his love and fear, and he acknowledges that he should have respected her choices. The moment of vulnerability and honesty brings them closer than ever, and Mariana forgives him. Miguel also apologizes for his mistake in not including Mariana in his plans, and the couple reconciles. The movie concludes on a happy and hopeful note. Back in Brazil, the two families gather for a wedding where they announce their upcoming marriage and a new surprise: Mariana and Miguel are expecting a baby. The news is met with joy, and the film ends with Ottavio and Hector falling back into their old rivalry, debating whether the new baby will be born in Brazil or Argentina. This final scene perfectly encapsulates the movie's theme. Despite their differences, the two families have now become one, and their playful rivalry is a sign of their love and acceptance. The film celebrates the beautiful mess of blended families and the power of love to bridge any divide. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.